Welcome to Connecting Business. It isn't just a name, it's the very mission of Kinetic Business by Windstream. I'm your host, Christina Munoz. Today, business success relies on making the right connections with subject matter experts over a variety of business topics. That's where Connecting Business comes in. We'll make those connections for you. We'll tap into the personal insights and professional experiences of those experts and explore how your business can better connect with your own customers, as well as craft solutions to fit your business needs to respond to opportunities faster, more efficiently, and with greater productivity. Thank you for joining us. And now let's get started connecting business. I want to introduce you to Lorenzo Clark, National VP Kinetic Inside Sales and Account Management. And I asked right away, everybody calls you Zoe. Is it okay for me to call you Zoe? Sometimes you got to know somebody, but I can call you Zoe, right?
Absolutely, you can, Christina, 100%.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And I got a chance to talk to you a little bit. And I have to start with those 15 minutes of fame back when you were in the NFL. Please share when people say, I got to interview somebody in the NFL. Tell us about this experience of yours.
Well, it's definitely an experience that I would never trade, no matter how short it was, as a matter of fact. That's how I actually ended up coming to Charlotte from college. And the Panthers gave me an opportunity, to join their team. And even though it was short-lived because I got injured pretty early in my career, it was an experience that helped me become the person that I am today. So I really appreciate that time.
Well, injury or not, it's something many of us will never say they got to be a part of the NFL. So super cool. From there, take us through real quick how you got here, how you ended up at Windstream.
So I started my own company, and after that got started, I was kind of hanging out at the house and I got bored. So I had to reach out to my network, and I had a couple of people I used to work with in my previous environment that were working at Windstream. And I came over and I talked to my boss now, Jeff Allman, and after 15 minutes of talking with him, I knew I had to come here. It was just a different environment. It was just an awesome place to work, and kind of seemed like it was a place that could use my skills, and I needed what they had, and it became a marriage. So worked out well.
Absolutely. We're so glad it did work out. So for someone who doesn't know you or your position, first just start with, what do you do? Kinetic Inside Sales, what do you do here?
So I'm very fortunate to have a few hundred employees of exceptional team members. And they're truly the lifeblood of our business. We handle all of the inside sales for consumer and business, and account management as well. We manage our base. And we operate in a multi-call center environment in Charlotte, North Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, and Cornelia, Georgia.
Wonderful. And how long have you been here with Windstream?
It's going on about 20 months now. Most people are like 20 years. I have to keep it months so I can stay relevant.
That's good. It's like when you have a kid, we don't talk about years, we talk about months in the beginning.
Exactly. 3 years, I might go to years. Until then, right. I'll stay with months.
That's exactly right. And it's just like having a kid. I didn't get it until I had him. Now I understand why we do that. Okay, so here you are moving along. Things are going great. And bam, COVID hits, and it really threw everybody into a tailspin. So kind of take us through what that was like for you, and then we're going to transition to how you responded at this crazy time for all businesses. But what was it like for you guys?
Christina, the number one concern of us and any company should be the safety of your employees, right, and their families. COVID-19 was a knockout punch that was felt across the entire world. And once, you absorb the initial shock, it's time to react and put, plans in motion, remediation plans, and you have to sort of look at your position and make the best decision for keeping your people in mind, first of all, but then you also have to run the business in parallel as well, because you still have to run your business.
Absolutely. And so you've got the emotional side of it, you've got concern for health and safety, but then you've got that business side of it too. So what were your first steps? And the hard thing here, I think it was so unknown. We can look back, but at the time we really didn't know what this was going to be like, how long this was going to be. So tell me, what were your first steps that you took?
Well, it feels oxymoronic to benefit from a global pandemic. But COVID was a real tailwind for us because we provide a service that quickly became one of the most coveted services to American families. Like when the governors began to initiate stay-at-home orders across the country, the internet became a paramount vehicle to continue online education for the children. And it was a crucial mechanism for workers that were displaced, right? Because they could not go into work. And we saw a tremendous shift to remote work, and our strategy had to meet that demand because, the spread of COVID in the first wave it really hit everyone hard. And to be honest with you, we couldn't shut down, right? We have to serve the public. In my own opinion, I believe that serving the public is just as important as public service, which means you can't shut down, right? And you can't shut off.
It's funny when you think of essential workers, it may not be at the top of your list. You think emergency and healthcare, but all the work that was going remote and online cannot be done without this. And so really absolutely essential. So let's talk about resources. How and how many are we talking when it comes to technology, computers, laptops, whatever it is you needed to get?
So we had to mobilize quickly, and that was driven by our CEO, Tony Thomas. Tony, he's a visionary, and he had the foresight to see what was headed our way. And he challenged us to go fast and get everyone working remotely. And from a macro level, it seems simple, right? Just get everyone work remotely. But when you look at the logistics of that ask, that's where it gets daunting. We had to think about where we're going to find 1,000 laptops, 1,000 plus laptops, how we're going to train our team members while continuing to support our customers, because at the end of the day, that's what really matters as well, right? And, if you can recall, the CDC said that COVID was headed towards the pandemic, towards pandemic status towards the end of February. And that's when Tony made the call to arms. And we had everyone working remotely by mid-March, which was a true testament to the character of our company, the collaboration that workforce management showed, the training team showed, and the IT department. I mean, there was nothing short of incredible. And, the level of communication really and the responsiveness is what was able to get us over the hump. So much appreciated by all.
Well, we talk a lot about leadership here, and you're right, it comes from the top. And so to have that good leadership and forward thinking, it really is phenomenal that you all were able to do that as quickly as you did. So you mentioned the 1,000 laptops, that's got to come, that's the resources part of it. So how are you training them? I mean, we all went home and worked from home, but you've got kids and you've got dogs and you've got things going on. And so how do we train them to make sure they're taking care of their customers all from home?
Yeah, so, we had to be very methodical with that approach. We had to ask overtime, for our employees. And they were willing to give it because they understood how essential that we were to getting through this initial phase of COVID without knowing how long it was going to last, without really having any specifics on how it worked. And they always knew that we had their best interest in mind as well. So when someone has your best interest in mind, you don't mind going the extra mile. You don't mind doing the things that it's going to take for both parties to get it done. So lots of collaboration, lots of communication. I'll say that time and time again, because that's the way that we were able to keep everyone focused on the goal, which was, hey, let's get everyone trained. Let's get the curriculum going. The training teams were forced to pull that date. Hey, here's your date, now pull it in, right? So everyone had that same strategy. Here's the date, pull it in. And for us to be able to put it off in 2 weeks, I still don't know how we do it, Christina. I still don't know how we did it, to be honest with you. It's just a monumental feat for everyone. And it's greatly appreciated by all.
Monumental is a very good descriptive word for it. So we're going to talk about the positive that came from it for sure. But within that training and within getting everybody home in the beginning, what were the major issues that really were speed bumps for you?
There are the common misnomers, that all companies fear when work from home is mentioned, right? There's a degradation of performance. I'm going to lose what I had. There's maintaining the culture, right? We established this culture, and now going from home, how am I going to maintain it? How am I going to keep it going? And then, of course, there are the security concerns, that every company has, especially when you talk about some sensitive information and things of that sort. So those are the big three, right? So we had to figure out how we were going to address each one as we transition to a virtual environment. And that was challenging.
And take us through that security one. That's something that others maybe didn't have to think about. The information that you have at your fingertips or in front of you can be very sensitive and needs to be secure. How did you handle that situation?
Yeah, so I think part of what made us successful was we transitioned all of our processes, our security protocols, everything that we did in the location, we just transitioned it virtually. So you can't have, pencils and pads at your desk in the office. You can't have them at home, right? So how do you monitor that? Well, we have laptops, right? Laptops have cameras. We are a technology company. We use our technology. Office Suite, which is one of the top products that's out there, enables us to, pull up our entire team, and we'll be able to see our entire team all at once. So the security measures transition from our location in our office to home virtually. And because there's no loss, right? If you do it at home, you're going to do it at work. If you do it at work, you're going to do it at home. So just do what you do at work, at home. And that makes it nice and simple for everyone. And it keeps us safe and secure as well.
And what did you find? Did people do that? Were they doing okay? What about this degradation of performance? Did you see it happen? How did it go?
Well, Christina, we actually saw a 21% increase in performance, even when you normalize for COVID, right? That's check one, degradation of performance. That's
Not
fake news, right? Fake news. And we entered, 2020 as a company with a goal of adding 40,000 net new customers, to the Kinetic family. And we're currently at 53,000 on our run rate towards 60,000. So, like I said, it's been a serious tailwind for us for sure. But the teams responded, and we were able to get it done.
Absolutely phenomenal, because I know that hasn't been the case for all companies. So way to go for Kinetic and for you guys to actually be able to say that, looking back, to turn it something that was such a negative at the time into such a positive. Also talk about the talent and talent acquisition for you guys and how that ended up being a pro as well, being remote.
Yeah, so another win for us was the ability to expand our recruiting bed and attract top talent from across the country versus recruiting where we had call centers. So Charlotte, North Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, and North Georgia. So imagine going from 1 million working Americans across those metro areas to 120 million across the country, right? And that's a real talent windfall. And we've added some top performers to our teams. But let me take it a step further. So top talent wants to work daytime hours, right? They want to work 7-4, they want to work 8-5, because that's what their talent requires, right?
Right.
So, because that's an optimal work-life balance schedule for most people, it's coveted. So most of our footprint resides in the Eastern and Central time zones. So nationwide recruiting affords us the ability to bring on daytime talent from the Mountain and the Pacific time zones, but they're working later hours for us and closing that performance gap, right? So most East Coast companies experience that, but we were able to use this, this unintended consequence of COVID to be able to spread our talent throughout the day.
And that's something that I don't think I thought of. You don't think of it right away, but it makes sense when you expand that time because of the time zones. You're getting more hours, and like you said, the top talent doesn't want to work overnights or late hours, or they increase their careers to get out of that. And so now you're able to tap into that. And so, what has that been like for you? Do you attribute that to a part of that 21% increase, or just the success that you've been having?
Yes, it definitely has. It's definitely a factor in the increase. Traditionally, I think when I measured it, when I first came in, we had a 35% gap between the daytime hours, which I call 5 p.m. Eastern, on until our close of business. Now that gap has narrowed to the high teens. It's like 17%. So we essentially cut it in half, and we're still continuing to push that down as we bring on top talent as well, from the same time zone. So it's definitely been a contributor for sure.
That is so cool. So we mentioned culture briefly, but I want to talk more about, culture is something companies work so hard. You want to have a good culture. You want people to like where they work. Maybe that's camaraderie. I mean, who knows what that is that creates that environment and that culture. So everybody's home. You all did this pretty quickly. How have you been able to kind of keep that culture and environment that you want for Kinetic?
That was one of the things I was personally most concerned with and most worried about. Being a technology company, we utilize the technology, right? As I mentioned, an Office Suite is a technology that we've used to stay connected across our teams and to keep our culture thriving. Perfect example is this week is Customer Service Week, right? And we've increased our team engagements across all of my channels. They've been having so much fun, playing games. I popped in between meetings, and they were playing like Jeopardy games. They had a really cool game called Guess the Desk. So they would take a picture of the desk area without anyone being there, and then they would send it to their supervisor, and they would kind of put it up on the screen, and you get points if you guess the person whose desk that belongs to. I mean, it's so much fun. And it kind of really, there's another, X across those misnomers I mentioned before, which is losing your culture. You can do that in the office, but to be able to do that same and have that same energy virtually, what are you losing? You're not, so that's one of the things that I was so encouraged about that.
Well, again, it says a lot about leadership from the top down, because you have to have people that like their jobs and enjoy being there to participate. And by the way, mine would have been the messiest desk. I know that. So everybody would have guessed my desk. No doubt about it. No matter where I've worked, that's been the case. Yep. No doubt about it. Okay. So we're going to look forward now. You've learned a lot and you've shared a lot. We've been doing this for quite a while now. What do you see moving forward? Do we go back to what we had done? Do we continue doing what we're doing?
We continue to stay remote, and we continue to do what we're doing today. Our decision to stay in the work from home environment, it's going to be beneficial. We don't know how long we're going to be in this environment with COVID, but post COVID, we will stay in our work from home environment. From the ability to be able to attract the top talent that's out there. From the fact that we've shown there's no degradation in performance. As a matter of fact, we've actually been able to increase our performance. And we really can look long term and say, hey, how can we save on real estate costs? Because we don't need as much seating as we have had in the past. And it really helps from a company perspective, as well. So there's so many positive aspects from staying in a remote environment that we've already proven to be true, and we'll continue to prove that out, so that hopefully, fingers crossed, when we do have a vaccine and people start to go back to a steady state of a new normalcy, then we'll be able to benefit from all the positives we've seen since we've had to go to a work from home environment.
I love to hear that. And just another shout out to the monumental task of transitioning and how quickly you guys did this in 2 weeks. Any final takeaways, final thoughts that you want to share with everybody about this transition, what it's been like and what you've learned?
Yes, I would say challenge the status quo and don't fall into those traditional fears that businesses have about working in a virtual environment, right? Just from the things that we've talked about today, we have data, we have case studies, we have a lot of information that supports all of the wins that we've seen since we've gone into this environment, and to the point to where we made a decision, in my own channels to stay remote, and that's been supported by my entire senior leadership team. So I think, for us, like I said, it was an unintended consequence of COVID. It forced us to the environment. We had never done it before, but we've seen the positives from it. So what I would say is, don't be afraid of it. Challenge it. We did it, and you can do it as well.
Wow, fantastic words. Challenge the status quo. I think we should all live by that in all aspects of our life. Zoe Clark, I cannot thank you enough for joining us today. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you, Christine. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you for making the connection with us. Connecting business is exactly what Kinetic Business by Windstream does every day. Until next time, stay connected.